Big Block Sports. Big Block Sports. Big Block Sports. Big Block Sports. Big Block Sports.
Big Block Sports. We are live. We are back. I'm doing back-to-back weeks. Initially, when I started thinking about this season, one of the things I really thought about was doing bi-weekly shows. But for whatever reason, today I had some downtime. There's a lot going on in the NFL, and I felt like, hey, let me just drop another episode out here for all my peeps out there in NFL land. We're in week 4. We got Thursday night football tonight. I got the Lions over the Packers tonight. I'll get into some of my week 4 picks in this week's episode. We got a jam-packed episode today. Some of the things we're going to talk about are some teams we need to put to bed. I'm going to strike up a little lullaby, maybe some violins, a little harp. We're going to put these guys to bed. It's only the 4th week. We know the numbers, the ability to reach the playoffs when you're 0-3, 0-4 is sometimes less than 20%. These teams are either 0-3 or they're teams that are approaching 0-4 or maybe 1-3. But we need to put these teams to bed. We need to focus on those teams already that are in the hunt for the Lombardi. And these are some teams, I got 4 of them that we can go head on. We can put them to bed right now this week. We'll get into a little, as I'm enjoying the football season, you hear sounds, you hear clips, you read bites of information. You read hot takes. Some of them are cold, but you read takes. And there's 2 entities in American football, because this is kind of college football, NFL together. But there's 2 entities in college football right now that I feel like actually have a lot in common. They seem to attract a similar type of notoriety. Both positive and negative. And it leads me to another topic where we'll get into some of our, a little history lesson on the NFL. When I'm creating these shows, I like to jump on the Googles and do a little research, just to give you guys a couple of fun facts. So I got a couple of clips. I got a couple of quotes to make my point in relation to how these 2 entities are very similar in their notoriety. Again, I used that word already, but I feel like it's the perfect word for what these entities, because I don't want to give it away, what these entities are attracting during this American football season. And then as usual, at the end, we'll get into my week 4 picks. I went 9-7 last week. There were just a couple of duds that didn't go my way. Cowboys. Now, I'm not going to take anything away from the Arizona Cardinals. The only reason why I'm even going to give that loss any sort of attention, any sort of time during this episode is just because the Cowboy fans were so ready for the 49er game in a couple of weeks here that I feel like it was just only right that they lost to the Arizona Cardinals. Now, the 49ers have the Arizona Cardinals coming up on Sunday, October 1st, which also happens to be my birthday. So I'm hoping for an excellent birthday. Another 30 burger, another 40 burger. Teams are scoring 70 points these days. Who knows what the 49ers are capable versus the Arizona Cardinals? I know for sure one thing that I'm very happy about is the fact that the Dallas Cowboys were the team to lose to the Arizona Cardinals. It puts our 49ers on alert. It lets John, Kyle, Nick, Fred, I'm talking to them. I'm talking about them on a first name basis like I'm part of the team. But it lets our team know, hey, any given Sunday, and that's what I love about NFL action is that there's all these facts in figures, in trends, and now it's very big in analytics. But at the end of the day, any given Sunday, any team can get a couple fumbles, can break a couple long runs, can have a quarterback like Joshua Dobbs, who showed up, I don't know, a week or two before the season started and was named the starter and has never been a starter anywhere, to my knowledge, at least without someone getting injured ahead of him. He spent some time in Tennessee. I know he's originally drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Dobbs has never been considered the dude. Funny clip he posted this past week on his Instagram where he went to the Arizona Cardinals team store, couldn't even buy his own jersey. The man went out and just beat potential, keyword potential, Super Bowl champions based on the Dallas Cowboys media. And he could not even find his own jersey in his own team store. He did post a video later on. I don't know if it was later that day or possibly the next day where he was able to get a jersey with his name and number. But I just thought that was a great wake-up call, not only for the Cowboys, because I don't want any excuses after this Arizona Cardinal game because we got the Cowboys right after that. But it was a great wake-up call for the 49ers because, again, any given Sunday. So I went 9-7 during last week's games, hoping for better this week. So we'll get into some of my picks later on in this episode. Let's get into some teams we need to go ahead and put to bed. I'm going to put on some slow music, little lullabies here. I'm going to make sure you guys are nice and tucked in for this upcoming segment. The first team we need to go ahead and put away. I'm going to lean into the mic. Minnesota Vikings. Oh yeah, baby. It's nap time. Put them to bed. It's a done deal. Kirk Cousins didn't re-sign in the offseason. He's already basically, it seems like, from my perspective, he's kind of already out the door. Justin Jefferson didn't get re-signed in the offseason. Now, in no way am I saying, they're going to trade him or they're going to move off Justin Jefferson. But I'm pretty sure it didn't help the aura around the team when the best player on the team has a hard time securing a contract when he's only been one of the top wide receivers, if not the top wide receiver in the league for X amount of years. I want to say the Vikings lead the league in fumbles. That may not necessarily be a true fact. I could probably look that up really quick. But seems like every time I watch a Vikings game, all I see are fumbles. Brought it up really quick here. NFL team fumbles per game, teamrankings.com. Minnesota Vikings are averaging 2.3 fumbles a game this season. Imagine losing almost 2.5, that's basically 3. Because 2.3 is basically 3 fumbles. Losing that many fumbles per game. It's not a measure for success. Minnesota Vikings. It's time to go to bed. Good night. Next team. Team's getting a lot of media. One player in particular is getting tons of media. It's not Russell Wilson. It's not the Denver Broncos, but stay tuned. More on them later. It's the Chicago Bears. Let's put them to bed. It's 0-3. They are about to be 0-4. Next week, they have the Denver Broncos battle. Battle of the Mid Bowl 2023. I think the Broncos take it. There's no way. There is no way you lose by 50 and then lose to Justin Fields and the dumpster fire that is the Chicago Bears in back-to-back weeks. Chicago Bears, it's time to go to bed. Not all of it is on Justin Fields. This is by no means a dunk session on Justin Fields. There's plenty of blame to go around. Offense, defense, special teams, blocking, tackling, running, catching, kicking, whatever facet of the game you want to look at, there's opportunity with the Chicago Bears. Was Eberflus? First of all, he has a difficult name. That's already an L in my book. Was he the right hire? We know that the defensive coordinator just left. It was a lot of weird tweets about that. I'm not going to speculate on anything, but if you have some time, go look at some of the activity in the tweets. There's all sorts of rumors about why he suddenly resigned and kind of disappeared. Chicago Bears, it's time to go to bed. Good night. All right, I kind of previewed it, but Denver Broncos, it's time to go to bed. Good night. Sweet dreams. There is the only thing that the Denver Broncos can do to make this season anything is to win the Super Bowl. That's it. There's nothing they can do to overcome the fact that they lost by 50 points. They gave up. It wasn't a record. It was 3 points away from the actual record, but it might as well be a record because the only time we see 70 points are on Saturdays, right? When it's like a top-ranked team versus, some A&M university, some random tech school, I'm not going to call out any school names because I'm pretty sure there's tons, but the only time we see that many points is in college football. There's no reason why an NFL coordinated defense should be giving up 70 points in an NFL football game. And they didn't score 70 in the entire 60 minutes of that NFL game. They had 70 with almost 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. There's a quote, I retweeted it on my Instagram page, Robbie Chosen, whatever his name is now. He said internally on the sideline, and I'm just paraphrasing here, he said they saw 70, they thought, let's just go for 100. And I'm like, why didn't they? What also makes me really want to put the Broncos to bed, and this is very similar to what I was talking about when it came to the Dallas Cowboys, is how excited they were for the season, is how Sean Payton but during his offseason, during his hiring, he made sure to make comments about how horrible of a job Nathaniel Hackett did. And there were also some choice barbs around Robert Saleh in the New York Jets. But mostly his animosity seemed to be with Nathaniel Hackett. Sean Payton, joke's on you. You have the same record that Nathaniel Hackett had. Hackett never gave up 70 points. Is Russell Wilson playing that much better under Sean Payton? If you got to think about it, the answer is probably no. Denver Broncos, it's time to go to bed. Good night. There's a little kiss on the forehead for you. And the last team we're going to put to bed, Carolina Panthers. And I know Andy Dalton came out, had a renaissance performance last week. Threw for, I think he was top 3 in the league last week when it came to yards. Imagine throwing for over 300 yards. It was like 347. First of all, shout out to Andy Dalton bringing back his AJ Green Ocho Cinco days. Threw for 300 plus yards, lost by 10. Panthers are 0-3. Traded away their best wide receiver. Brian Burns in contract negotiations. So far, no contract. Now, Bryce Young, their number 1 pick, is hurt with an ankle injury. Adam Thielen, I've talked about him on my last episode, slow as dirt. Carolina Panthers, good night. It's time to go to bed. Those are the 4 teams. I think it's time we can put them to bed right now. It's week 4. We're going to put them to bed. Vikings, Bears, Broncos, Panthers. Good night. Good night. Let's get into the next topic. And I'm going to sit back a little bit here in my chair because it's very, I feel like it's very poetic. This is not science. This is the art of podcasting. And I feel like there's 2 entities right now in the American football media that's gaining a lot of notoriety, as I mentioned in the opening. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about the Colorado Buffaloes and Brock Purdy. Let's talk about it. Let's compare. Because from my perspective, they got a lot in common. 2 entities. Every time you turn on the TV, Colorado when it comes to college football. Win, lose, draw, it's all about Dion. It's all about the team. It's all about Colorado. In the NFL, it's all about Brock Purdy. It's all about the 49ers. And maybe that's just my world. Maybe I'm biased. But from my perspective, they're getting a lot of the same hate. They're getting a lot of the same love. I'm going to go over some quotes between the 2 entities. Again, Colorado, Brock Purdy. Now, as Oregon proceeded, is it Oregon? Whatever. As they proceeded to put their foot in Colorado, boo birds, hater birds, whatever you want to call them, came out of the woodworks. Let's read some quotes. The hate that Coach Deion Sanders is receiving is the same hatred the Fab Five and Muhammad Ali received from mainstream America for being too confident, too proud, too uppity, too much out of their place. So they were despised, and people rejoiced when they lost and hated when they won. 100% accurate when it comes to what has happened and what may happen if Colorado loses again this weekend versus USC. Here's a similar take on Brock Purdy. Purdy's a little too close to turdy I think people have a hard time looking at that name and saying that's a franchise quarterback. Purdy is too close to Turdy. Not, his deep ball accuracy is in question. Not he missed too many throws versus the Rams versus the Giants. No, not that. It's just that his name, Purdy, is too close to Turdy. That quote, my friends, is not from some random Instagram influencer, not from some Twitter fingers celebrity. That is from none other than Mike Florio from NBC Sports. I think it's PFT, Pro Football Talk. Mike Florio. Let's get into some additional quotes. Here's some what we would say is called hypocrisy. Oregon has always been the flashiest, the loudest, most ostentatious team in college football. Now everyone is happy they beat Colorado because Deion was too loud and flashy. In this game where the coach of Oregon made his opening speech saying, we're built on substance and not on, I forgot what the exact words were, but basically internet fame. And where he said, we're doing it for wins and not for clicks. Oregon, I keep saying Oregon. I don't, somebody comment below what the correct terminology is for that school. But they were wearing shoes that change color based on the heat from someone's foot. So they were wearing basically mood ring shoes. Yet in the opening script that this coach gave to his team, in the opening speech, he talked about how they're about substance and not about clicks. Mind you, this speech was subsequently then placed on social media for what? For clicks. Ooh, okay. In comparison, Brock Purdy, it's so hard and nearly impossible to have any conversation about Brock Purdy unless you're solely praising him. Any type of criticism against Brock Purdy results in being attacked. And I feel like it's almost the same way with Colorado. Was Colorado outmanned? Yes. However, Colorado won one game last season. I want to say the amount of people at the spring game, which is not an actual game, it was like a practice, was more this season than any season in Colorado's football history. The last time I remember Colorado being good was Cordell Stewart, Sean Salam. That was the last time I remember Colorado being good. When is the last time a 7th round quarterback has been good? Don't worry. I got that information for you. I got a couple of Super Bowl winners. Actually, one of these is not a Super Bowl winners. I apologize. Super Bowl attendees. Let me just delete this quarterback because the rest of them are Super Bowl winners. Okay, I got 4 Super Bowl winners. One of them you're probably very aware of. Very popular late round pick that went on to defy the odds. But let's stay focused on these quotes. There's one very specific quote that I want to get into. There's 2. Coming from Danny Kanell is the first one. Danny Kanell, shout out to my nose, shout out to Florida State. We on our way, baby. National championship on the way. Danny Kanell, one of my favorite Florida State quarterbacks. Not my favorite. I said one of. There's a lot of them. But in the NFL, you could say not much happened for Danny. In fact, and this may have something to do with his approach when it comes to Colorado. His last play, if I remember correctly, when I looked it up, in the NFL, happened to be a pick six. On that pick six, subsequently, he was injured, was not able to return. I don't know. He disappeared after that. Do you know who had that pick six? Do you know who caught that ball? That interception that he threw and proceeded to high step 30 yards away from the end zone. None other than Deion Sanders. So Danny Kanell has been doing work when it comes to Colorado. And I quote, simple, period. People were exhausted with all of the over-the-top coverage of Deion. Every pregame speech aired all day on every ESPN show on loop. Overhyping average wins. That's it. I'd like to understand the terminology average win because there's a lot of the same vibes when it comes to how Brock Purdy is winning. Now, a quote I have to refute what you would call an average win is, if you want to think Brock Purdy is a product of a system, I'm going to lean into the mic here. Who cares? Because the system is awesome. And it's full of all pros. And it's better than what your better QB probably produces. So have what you have. I'll take what I got. And that's Brock Purdy. Is Colorado going to win a national championship? Probably not. They got some work to do. And Deion has mentioned they got some work to do on the interior, on the defense. Can always use more skill players. Could always run the ball more. Could always have more people in the trenches. Pass rush. Linebackers. They could always have that. But for a team that, again, from my perspective, I haven't even thought about Colorado since the 90s-ish. He's done a lot. And for a team like the 49ers that have come close, that have been close, that have been in the big game, to have a quarterback like Purdy, the last pick, someone people never thought of, people didn't look for, came in the game. Brock Purdy has played 12 NFL games. He is undefeated in games he has finished. Now, I had to add that games he has finished because, he did finish the Eagles game, but he did not finish it throwing the football. He could not throw the football. Even though, now that I think about it, he threw a screen pass with a busted UCL. That's my quarterback. That's our quarterback. So regardless of what happens with the Colorado Buffalo season, regardless of what happens with the 49ers season, both of these entities, as I said, they've already won. They've already won. And every time the media, every time someone on Twitter, someone on Instagram looks to discredit them, they just continue to get better. They just continue to win. They just continue to improve. They continue to silence the doubters. And that's why, for me, the story of Colorado the story of Brock Purdy, two of the best storylines going into this American football season. What a time to be alive. Here's a couple fun facts I went through. I was born in 1980. I didn't go that far back. I don't know how far back did I go? I don't even remember how far back I went. But I was able to look up some successful late round QBs, Super Bowl winning QBs, drafted after round 5 or in round 5 and later. So we all know Thomas, Patrick, Edward, Brady, 6th round pick, University of Michigan, won 15 zillion Super Bowls. We know about TB12. We know about Tom and the New England Patriots. We know about Tom. Let's get into some other quarterbacks because I want to help people understand that a winning quarterback is a winning quarterback. And while this list is short, and while you can say a lot of the recent Super Bowl winning quarterbacks outside of Tom Brady have been high, if not the first draft picks. I want to say Patrick Mahomes in the 2nd round might have been the latest quarterback to win a Super Bowl. There are other opportunities in the NFL to win a Super Bowl. And not every quarterback is 6'5", laser rocket arm. Sometimes they got just enough fight, just enough want to, just enough talent on the roster to climb that hill and be successful. So we know about Tom Brady. Let's talk about the next one, which is an even more incredible story. And again, this one's probably also very popular. Curtis Eugene Warner. Undrafted, walked on basically in the NFL in 1994. Played in the Arena Football League. Played in the Euro League. Was bagging groceries. We all know the story. We saw the movie. Kurt Warner. I'm going to go over some of his highlights here. Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl MVP, 2-time most valuable player, 2-time first team All-Pro, 4-time Pro Bowl, 2-time NFL passing touchdown leader. Kurt Warner. Undrafted Super Bowl winner. Now let's get into 2 more, and I'll make this quick. 2 you may need to be a little longer in the tooth. A little longer in the tooth to know about. Mark Robert Rypien. Mark Rypien. Drafted round 6, pick 146, 1986 by the Washington Redskins. 2-time Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl MVP, 2nd team All-Pro, 2-time Pro Bowl. Mark Rypien, late round QB, Super Bowl winner, NFL success. Says here he was known for his phenomenal accuracy as a deep passer. Mark Rypien. From my perspective, Mark Rypien is basically Brock Purdy. It's my show. I make up the rules. And my last late late round Super Bowl winning quarterback. My last one, James Bradley Johnson. Brad Johnson, quarterback, drafted in round 9 out of Florida State. Let's go Noles. Drafted in round 9, back when the NFL had 8 zillion rounds. Brad Johnson, drafted in round 9. Drafted by the Minnesota Vikings. Third string quarterback. He was a backup to subdued named after a steak. I remember Sean Salisbury. He only dressed for one game as a rookie and didn't play. Also, spent some time in the World League with the London Monarchs. Been all over. Wasn't until 2001, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They went on to win the Super Bowl. Brad Johnson. So that was my list of late round quarterbacks. Soon enough, we're going to be adding Brock Purdy. Let me see if Brock Purdy got a middle name. Because I like calling I like calling these guys by their middle names. Let's see, Brock Purdy. Brock Richard. So it's funny. It is funny because if you're not a 49er fan, there is a nickname for Brock Purdy. The acronym is BCB. The first word is big. The last word is Brock. The middle word rhymes with Brock. BCB. Again, the first word is big. The middle word starts with a C. The last word is Brock. The middle word that starts with the C rhymes with Brock. That's funny because his middle name is Richard. And I'm pausing for dramatic effect. That's where if this was a syndicated sitcom, the laugh track would play. Brock Richard Purdy. 49ers winning the Super Bowl this season. Let's get into my picks. Let me see if I uploaded this correctly. I didn't. So I'm just going to bring up my device. We got Thursday Night Football. We got the Amazon Prime starting up right now at 7 p.m. on the East Coast. Like I said, I'm going with the Detroit Lions tonight. Detroit Lions over the Green Bay Packers. Lions have won the last 3. I feel like the Packers should have lost the last game and got lucky. Don't think they'll be that lucky against the Detroit Lions. Miami Dolphins versus the Buffalo Bills. I got to take the Miami Dolphins. I don't believe this will be another 70-point weekend. I do think the game against Buffalo will be tough. Miami will come out victorious in the end. Mid-bowl number 1, Denver Broncos versus the Chicago Bears. I'm taking... I've changed this pick 3 times. Before I started recording, I almost feel like I want to change it now in the middle of my recording. There's no way the Denver Broncos lose after giving up 50. I'm taking the Denver Broncos over the Chicago Bears. Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Houston Texans. Texans showing a lot of promise. CJ Stroud getting a lot of clout, a lot of popularity over his last week's performance. I think the combination of TJ Watt, the linebacker Highsmith, I think they will carry the Pittsburgh Steelers over the Houston Texans. Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the New Orleans Saints. If Derek Carr was playing, I think this would be more of a competition. I am not sure that Jameis Winston will be able to carry the Saints to victory. I'm taking Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Cincinnati Bengals versus the Tennessee Titans. I initially picked the Bengals to start the season 0-3, and they almost did, but they were victorious versus the Rams. That earned them another pick for me this week. I'm taking the Cincinnati Bengals over the Tennessee Titans. New England Patriots versus the Dallas Cowboys. I love what the Patriots are doing. I think Mac Jones is better than people give them credit for. Who does he really have to throw to? They're rolling out Ezekiel Elliott. I read some stories that the Patriots signed Will Grier, who was a longtime backup for the Cowboys. They're having to change some things up offensively because of that. I'm still taking the Dallas Cowboys over the New England Patriots. I'm going to save the Sunday night and the Monday night for last. We got the game in London. Atlanta Falcons, Jacksonville Jaguars. If you didn't know already, this is basically a home game for the Jaguars. They're actually playing 2 weeks back-to-back in London. I'm going to take the Jacksonville Jaguars over the Atlanta Falcons. Minnesota Vikings versus the Carolina Panthers. I'm taking the Minnesota Vikings in battle of the mid-2. Again, Panthers, time to go to bed. Vikings get the dub, but it's basically a wrap for them this season too. Baltimore Ravens, Cleveland Browns. I'll post my top 10 NFL teams. A lot of people have the Cleveland Browns in their list. I cannot. I cannot put the Cleveland Browns on my list with Deshaun Watson at quarterback. I know that the Ravens have some injuries, as they do every year. I'm taking the Baltimore Ravens over the Cleveland Browns. Los Angeles Rams, Indianapolis Colts. Without Anthony Richardson, I would say this game, I would say this game would be more of a toss-up. With Anthony Richardson, I am taking the Indianapolis Colts over Matthew Stafford and the Los Angeles Rams. Commanders versus the Eagles. Commanders are playing tough. Sam Howell thinks he's Lamar Jackson. He's not. But he's playing tough. Defense is stout. The enemy is putting his weapons in position to be successful. However, Eagles are 3-0. Eagles will be 4-0 after this weekend. This was a difficult game to pick. The next one, Oakland Raiders. Wow. Las Vegas Raiders, Los Angeles Chargers. I love my boy Jimmy G. He had a rough out last week. Devontae Adams wants to quit. Chandler Jones has gone rogue. Typical Raiders behavior. Los Angeles Chargers, I predicted, would also start the season 0-3. They snuck by the Minnesota Vikings, one of the teams that I said they should be put to bed. I'm going to take the Los Angeles Chargers in this one over the Oakland Raiders. Just because I feel like the Chargers have a little more defense. Like that much more. 49ers versus the Arizona Cardinals. Not going to spend too much time on this. You see the hat. You know what time it is. Bang, bang, Niner gang. And we're going to be super on point because Rich Gannon owe us one. It was his defense that took Brock Purdy out. Our defensive coordinator, Steve Wilks, is currently suing the Arizona Cardinals for them kicking him out of town. I guess they violated some sort of employment rules. So they owe us one. And then we got the heads up from the Cowboys that, hey, this is what they like to do. This is how they do it. 49ers getting the dub. Sunday Night Football, we got the Chiefs and the Jets. It's not even worth spending any time analyzing what's happening here. Kansas City Chiefs getting the dub. And then Monday Night Football. Seahawks, Giants. Could be a good game. Could be a shootout. I'm taking the Seattle Seahawks. Geno Smith continues to put the ball where it needs to go. His receivers just not where they need to be. Just not doing the things they need to do, which is catch the ball. But I'm still going to take the Seattle Seahawks over the New York Giants. They still got a banged up offensive line, banged up secondary. I don't think they got a shot. And those are my week 4 picks. I'll run through them really quick. Lions, Dolphins, Broncos, Steelers, Buccaneers, Bengals, Cowboys, Jaguars, Vikings, Bengals. Vikings, Ravens, Colts, Eagles, Chargers, 49ers, Chiefs, and finally Monday Night Football, we got the Seattle Seahawks. So I appreciate you guys joining me today. Appreciate you guys helping me put those teams to bed. Appreciate you listening to my soliloquy about Brock Purdy, about late round quarterbacks, about the University of Colorado. Appreciate you checking out my picks. My name is Malcolm May. This is Big Block Sports. We out.